been going all right then.
Oh,
if you're
okay,
running
then it
9.
must have been 50 metres then.
Yeah, 50 metres, 9 seconds. Yeah, that'd probably work
That's probably
out.
still pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably still pretty good. Yeah.
Really?
No, that's probably about right. Yeah, that'd probably be about 14, 15 seconds for 100. Yeah, which would be reasonable.
This is like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Let's have a race now.
So
Can we time you up the street right now? Come on.
But it's not just like simply going, okay, I can do 100 metres in 15 seconds, so 400 will be 4 times that. Because, will it?
Yeah, no, you can't just multiply it out.
No.
Yeah,
Well, then tell me how much
so
fast is your time?
When I went down to Stawell, when I was running sort of 100 times, I think I equated about that year to about 10.4 over 100. So the guys, our top sprinters, like our 10, they're 10-1, 10-2. Trey, we had a guy just over the weekend, he went the 4th fastest in Australian history at 10-10. Most of them about our good sprinters are 10-2, 10-3 sort of runners. So I was in that sort of realm for a little while I was doing that, but with the training for the 400, you do take away from a little bit of the speed because you've got to add in the endurance part.
Yeah.
So because you got to keep going for a bit longer.
Wow.
So. My time, I've run 46 seconds for the 400. So we go through, just put in like my splits. I go through in about 11 seconds through the first 100, 21.5, sort of that sort of range for my 200, 33-ish for the 300 mark, and then 46 by the time you head home. So that last 100 is where the time sort of really separates out. Like does
it drop off?
Yeah, they call the old, like, you get to that front straight and that lactic sort of kicks in, and have you experienced lactic before? That sort of sensation of lactic acid hitting your body.
No,
it's not fun. It's
I've lactated before.
Yeah.
Does it relate? I wonder if it does.
It's just pretty much your muscles giving up. It's just your muscles giving up. So they got nothing.
Because as far as I'm concerned, 500 metres to me is long distance.
That's right.
Yeah.
So 400 is right on the brink of like the furthest you can take your body in. It's the longest sprint event. It's still classified as a sprint.
Yeah.
So you still are technically sprinting at the end, although it pretty much feels like you're carrying a washing machine on your back for the last sort of 50 metres of the race. So.
Yeah, because I just can't imagine like running at that speed.
Yeah, and trying to keep going. Yeah.
Every Wednesday morning at 5:30.
Yep.
At Burleigh, pretty much from North Burleigh Surf Club to Burleigh is almost 400. It has 400 metres.
Yep.
Fight like a pro.
Oh yeah. I've seen them down there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they run.
Yep.
If you get to about your 5th week.
Yep.
They'll do the 400 metre run across the thing. It's like a 400. You have to do it every single Wednesday there. And
I've seen them on the.
400 is the worst.
I've seen them on the steps at Currumbin as well.
Yeah.
If you ever done,
they time it over 20 metres.
If you've ever done steps training, that's probably the most, that feeling of your legs, just that heaviness.
Turn into jelly.
Yeah, that's what lactic is. It's that jelly legs. Yeah.
But what about the feeling when you get to that lactic, but then somehow you just feel good? You just
push through. Yeah.
Push through.
Try and get it done.
That was going to be my next question for you, right?
Yeah.
When we were talking to Brandon Wakeling last week, like, a lot's got to be said for you sports guys that for you to come out. How do you feel on that day, at that moment? Like, can you push through that every single time?
No, I mean, it's like there's the added thing in competition is, definitely the factor that you can't replicate in training is the adrenaline part. And I think that's what probably gets you through and makes you get to levels you haven't been to ever before in competition. Whereas, when you are training, and you definitely can still replicate lactic, you can push your body, and we do constantly, we'll have sessions at least once or twice a week where you're at the brink, or if not, vomiting and all that sort of yummy stuff. But it's only really in competition where you combine the ability of the body plus adrenaline, where you can sort of get to that next level, I guess, and push through what you generally can't in a normal everyday session.
Do you constantly time yourself so do you push yourself all the time? Like, surely you'd be under sort of some sort of body management.
Yeah,
you don't wanna
absolutely.
Go,
yeah,
I'm going to do my best, do my best. And
it's you've got to be. I think that's something that I've probably managed a lot better this season compared to last. You've got to be able to know when to be nice to your body as well as when to push it hard, and just that balance in between the two is ultimately sometimes. And if you're going too gun ho all the time, that's where things can come really unstuck as well. So, again, Lou's been a big part of that for me this year in the recovery centre, just making sure that for everything that you do, you've got to sort of almost treat your body, as something to recover for it. So every time we're out there, the recovery after is probably as important. It's the thing that it's the thing that takes time. It's the thing that people tend to, like, if you're in a program that's got massive hours a week that you're committed to, it's the first thing that everyone's like, oh, well, I could probably skip this, or I could probably, I don't really need that extra stretching, or I don't need to get the diet stuff this week, but it is those things that essentially in the end that, really make the performance on the track all come together. Yeah.
So you got to have a good crew, good team around you.
Absolutely.
And if anything, to remind you, hey man, where are you? I thought I'd go shopping. Well, guess what? No, come on, get back on track. You
just can't. I don't think you can get through. I mean, individuals may be different, but for me personally, like, to take on sort of journey like this, you literally can't do it without an amazing sort of team around you and people that are constantly there. Sometimes in a very you're sort of frustrated with their expectations and whatever else, but that's the level that you've got to be at, and you've sort of got to be reminded of that all the time. So
What
actually, no.
So do you obviously, like, you have sports injuries?
Yep.
So what's the most common one for you?
So the most common injury for sprinters is probably I'd say 100% hamstring tears.
Touch wood, everyone do it.
Sprinters love tearing hammies. It's just, we joke about it all the time, and then people go out and actually do it.
Is that the one, like, behind the
butt? Yeah.
Stand up.
No.
They call it, people, like, we often call them in the industry. You'll see that, like, people getting sniped. Like, they grab the hamstring halfway down the straight. So it's just because the hamstrings are so dominant in the force that you're pulling through the track. And they're the muscle that is extending out. It just tends to go at times. But injury-wise, I've definitely done my fair few hamstrings over the time. I was the major one that I had this was after Stawell. So after Stawell, I was like, this was the end of 2015. Next year was an Olympic year. I was getting set to have a big crack at trying to get to Rio, and I'd had a little bit of hip sort of pain leading into Stawell, and we were hoping that, like, a little bit through the off season, it'd sort of get everything sort of sorted out that for that. But I went through the off season, and things just got worse. I was just, like, starting to feel like the ultimate sort of Tin Man, and I went through, got all my scans done, tried to rule out everything, like, muscular, and in the end it was I had, like, a bone impingement going on through my hip. So where my sort of femur attaches to the acetabulum, your hip socket, there was a protrusion in the top of the femur, and it was scraping through my hip socket. So on the back of, like, this amazing high.
So what was that called? Is that like arthritis?
It's called the actual technical term for it was FAI, femoral acetabulum impingement. And a lot of AFL players get it, a lot of rowers get it as well. Not as common in sprinters, but it's that repetitive sort of nature of what we do and flexing of the leg that sort of caused it. I went from this ultimate high to, like, this doctor saying, yeah, mate, career's gone. We can have a look and see how we go, and we can still go through with the surgery, but it'll just pretty much be a lifestyle thing to just get your lifestyle back for your PE teaching. And I was just, like, devastated. I was just like, after all this, all the success and coming back so quickly and feeling like I'm on this upward spiral, it was just like, nah, you're gone, mate. Like, and this is just this is what happened.
And then from that to winning the Australian Nationals, and then to go to the
How did the pain feel like though?
It was just like a really blocking pain. So it was like as soon as I went into like anything like a squat or a lunge, or as soon as I was running and I was trying to drive my leg up, it would sort of react with like because the labrum around it had torn as well, and it was just yuck. Yeah.
I wonder how many people have that sort of thing and
Yeah.
they'll just live their whole life.
Yeah, probably. And if I wasn't in that sort of like
Was there any
high
sort of
performance
sharp feeling? Or
yeah, if I got into certain positions with it, the sharpness was there. But if I guess like if I wasn't in that sort of high performance environment, you probably could have just like while I was walking around day to day, like it wasn't that much of an issue. It was whenever I was in that flexion of the knee sort of position, it was just like yeah, the pain was immense. So I was really lucky. I had a great. I went to a couple of docs and you know, it was obviously a totally elective surgery because it wasn't, you know, impacting my work or anything like that. So
there goes the 40 grand you won down in Melbourne.
But so I was lucky enough to meet a doc that sort of, I guess, like took a bit of an interest in my story, and he was working privately, but also doing a day or two a week in the public hospital. And he said to me, you know, you'll do anything to get in here, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, mate. You just let me know what we need to do. And he gave me a call. I think it was New Year's Eve of 2016. Yeah, it would have been New Year's Eve. And he said, can you make it in? And tomorrow morning, 8 a.m.
New Year's Day?
Yeah, can you come in New Year's Day?
What time New Year's Eve did he call?
Oh, no, you called early on New Year's Eve, like in the morning.
You have to fast
it was in the morning of that one. He said, you know, do you want to be here tomorrow morning ready to go? So yeah, 24 hours later, I was under the knife, and
his wife hates him. That doctor.
Yeah. Hey? I'm just going to help this kid out tomorrow morning.
Maybe she offered. Maybe she's like, why don't you go and look after that boy?
Wow, man! But it must have been kind of a risk for you, though.
Yeah,
like,
and he
am I going to run good again?
Absolutely, and he was sort of like the first couple of docs I went to were probably a bit more brutal in their assessment. He was a bit more optimistic in that, and that's why I sort of went with him. And he was like, "Let's have a go, mate. Like, you know, the surgery hasn't been done."
Can we say this legend's name?
No, I'll keep it if that's all right.
Of course, we don't want everyone going to deals and discounts.
But what? Sorry, like. Can I go back? It's totally totally unrelated.
Yep.
Because last week we had Brandon Wakeling.
Yeah.
And he knew all the medical, you know, the technical official. What is it? Formal names of all the bones and muscles. And you do too. But I'm thinking, like, is that because you're a PE teacher, or do all sportsmen know?
I think when you're involved in a sport in particular, like whatever sport, you'll know the sort of the injuries and the types of the parts of your body that are involved in that sport, because your coaches will be talking about it all the time, and you're in physio, and your physios will be going, well, this is what's going wrong, this is what's tightening up because you're doing this or that. So you tend to know your own sport. Most athletes will have a pretty good understanding of their own sport and the things that go wrong. There's generally common injuries for the different sports. You know,
you
swimmers
might keep hearing, "I've busted my ACL."
Yeah.
You know, what the hell?
Yes, your soccer players are always busting ACLs, or your tennis players getting tennis elbow and stuff like that, or your swimmers with shoulders and stuff like that, and your distance runners with Achilles problems, and so there tends to just be really common stuff like that you're sort of used to in your different sports.
So is that just an everyday word for you? Like, I know femur, but what was the other one that you said? Like the joint thing?
The acetabulum.
Acetabulum. That's just an everyday word for you?
Oh, I wouldn't throw it around at like sushi on a Monday morning or something like that. But they tend to come across like little bits of and you sort of they stick with you. Yeah. So they went through the surgery. I walked out of the hospital the next day, and 6 weeks later I was jogging again, and pretty much just. So
rehab, like, what about? Because after surgery you couldn't have.
Yeah.
You had to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty intense rehab.
Yeah.
Had physios involved along the whole way, and sort of assessing, and they were. Like as it went on, like they were happy with the result of the surgery, but they still were quite concerned because when you cut into bone, it's like you're cutting into the power of your bone density creates power as well. So they had a really tricky job to try and take away some of the bone, but the more they took away, the less power, that I would sort of be sacrificing power that I'd previously had in terms of bone density. So they in the end they seemed like they got it pretty spot on. So I kept going and kept sort of ticking